Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast. Now, although this is a daily tech podcast, as regular listeners will know by now, I'm fascinated by how technology is impacting everything from our lives, our work, the industry that we work in, or even the entire world. Not to mention the role of people and technology together and what they can accomplish, especially when improving things such as diversity, equity and inclusion. And these are just some of the many reasons why I'm excited to get today's guest onto the podcast. Her name is Pam Maynard and she is the CEO of Avanade. And she appeared on my radar when I read about her purpose to make a genuine human impact with technology and Avanade, because they're proud to advance the world through the power of people and Microsoft, and she's had so many fantastic roles. She was the President of Product Innovation at Avanade before she was CEO, and she's focused on defining and delivering innovative solutions. But throughout her whole career in the tech industry, she's helped clients rethink how they do business, whether it be more resilient in their operations and empowering businesses, or empowering their employees to do more remotely and strengthening the customer experience and beyond. But ultimately, it's her passion about using technology not just as an enabler for business, but to support the missions of non-profit organisations and close that digital divide that we're constantly reading about, especially for young people. So essentially, everybody has an opportunity to participate in this digital world. So today we're going to be talking about driving the employee experience, why employees are increasingly looking to work in organisations that are purpose-driven, and also during these uncertain times that we all find ourselves in. And we'll also talk about inclusion and diversity, the role of technology, and so much more, but I've probably revealed far too much already. So buckle up and hold on tight, because no matter where you're listening in the world, I'm going to beam your ears all the way to the UK, where you can join me and Pam Maynard from Avanade in conversation today about all this and much more. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
And thank you for having me. Absolutely delighted to be here. So I'm the global CEO of Avanade, which is one of the largest, I suppose, the most experienced Microsoft services companies in the world. Avanade was created by Accenture and Microsoft back in 2000. I started the chapter of my career spent at Avanade in 2008, held various roles in Avanade over the last few years, and was promoted to CEO in September 2019.
Wow, fantastic. And I'd love to take you back in time for a moment before Avanade. And can you remember where your passion for tech came from, or a moment that would put you on the path that you're on today? Because everyone's got an origin story, and I'm kind of curious how all this began for you.
Yeah, I mean, mine does go back quite a way, unfortunately, but it does. And I still remember coming home after my last A-level exam. And I was on a path back then, Neil, to become a lawyer. Right. Yeah. So I had a place at Leeds University to do a law degree. I was going to be the first in my family as well to go to university. So my parents were incredibly proud at that moment. And I remember walking through the front door and seeing my mum, and she said, why are you looking so glum? And I said, well, I'm looking so glum because I actually don't think I want to do law anymore. Wow. And she was great. And she just said, well, what excites you? What do you enjoy? And that took me on a path to actually doing a business degree. So mum taught me to trust my gut instinct. And I did a business degree. And I did that because I knew my options would be open. I could still go back and do law if I wanted. I could do a conversion, or potentially it could open a door for me from an economics perspective or a marketing perspective, or even a tech perspective. I did my gap year at IBM. And that was what, if you like, ignited in me that passion for technology, but not for technology's sake, but to use technology to transform business. I then I started as a graduate with Oracle, and I really enjoyed that entrepreneurial, innovative side of Oracle back then. Spent 5 years there, loved it. I went from Oracle into EY, into Capgemini. Then, as I say, in 2008, landed at Avanade.
Wow, what a great story. I absolutely love it. And one of the reasons I always ask it, I think it's so important to share those origin stories, especially for younger people listening who've got so much pressure on what they need to do in life and find it so early on. And we all have to pivot at some point in a career. I was exactly the same. And of course, your path led you to Avanade. And for anyone listening that are just hearing about you guys for the first time, can you tell me more about the story behind the company and the problems it solves with technology for your customers?
Yeah, as I said, we're founded in 2000 by Accenture and Microsoft. So two massive parents. So we're a joint venture. We're a privately owned company. And in terms of what we do, one of the best ways to start that is by talking about how we helped clients during the pandemic in 2020 to really quickly respond, get them up and working from a technology infrastructure perspective. If you remember back then, we all had to be able to work remotely. We spent a lot of time with our clients helping and enabling them to do that because they just weren't set up. And we helped them across a number of countries. We're present in 26 countries globally. A good example would be the NHS here in the UK. There was a lot of pressure on the NHS back then around their pandemic response, and we worked with 1.2 million health workers and social care workers, connecting them to be able to work remotely and respond. Since then, as you know, digital transformation, the pace of technology change has just accelerated in a way that none of us ever expected it to. And so we've been really helping our clients to be able to capture that opportunity and transform digitally. Another great UK example is AQA, one of the largest UK exam boards. We actually helped them to do a first of a kind project, which is to take their exam processing platform onto the cloud. And now working with them around data and analytics and AI to really be able to unlock the next wave of services that they would be able to provide in terms of enabling their vision. And so it really is about helping our clients to go beyond, if you like, where they are today, to be able to capture and take hold of that investment in technology, to help them to bring to life their digital transformation journeys. And we work across a number of different sectors, in fact, all sectors from non-profit to public sector to healthcare to retail to financial services, all about helping clients to really innovate, partner, transform supply chains, transform customer employee experience, and evolve and grow for the future now.
Fantastic. And there's been so many big changes over the last 3 years, from that moment where everyone almost had to work remotely overnight to progressing to hybrid working to the great resignation. And in 2023, we're already seeing the other business changes and big trends. And one of the reasons I invited you on the podcast today was to talk about the increasing importance of employee experience and why it's so vital to stand out from the crowd by ensuring that they are truly purpose-led, especially in a world where there's a huge tech skill shortage as well. And employees have got the pick of the crop, really, where they can choose where they work and what kind of flexibility they have and if the company aligns with their values, etc. But can you tell me a little bit more about what you're seeing here?
Everything that you've just described. Yeah, absolutely. And we have to be laser focused on employee experience for the reasons you've just said. I mean, from a technology industry perspective, we still can't get enough tech talent or access to tech talent to solve the problems through technology that our clients want to work with us to solve, right? So for all the reasons you've just said, it also starts with having a clear purpose and vision, right? Because what people want to be able to do now is they want to be able to draw a line between the work that they're doing day to day and how that's going to make a difference in the world, how that's going to make a difference beyond the sort of bottom line impact. So how do they use their skills, and how do they use their skills to connect with the organization in a way around a shared and a common goal? And that's to the point of being purpose-driven. And one of the first things that I did when I became CEO in 2019 was to make sure we were all clear on Avanade's purpose, which was to make a genuine human impact. And the reason for that purpose was because I wasn't just thinking about externally and how I wanted to work with clients, as I've done all the way through my career, to help clients to make a genuine impact in terms of their employees and with their customers. But I was also thinking about the human impact that was going to be important for Avanade employees. Right. And I just found that stake in the ground, or that sense of purpose around that human impact, to be a really important North Star for the organisation, as I say, for our employees, to be able to understand the what and the why of why they're doing what they do day in, day out. But then also for us to be able to attract others to Avanade. So it's not just about being able to keep, it's also to be able to attract. And we're seeing that become more and more important. So exactly as you say, we all have to be incredibly focused on employee experience, but to create the right employee experience, you need to be really clear on your vision and your purpose.
100% with you on that. And of course, many businesses now are challenged to do more with less too, due to economic uncertainty. And every new tech project that comes in will be incredibly under the microscope, really. And it will have to see what kind of ROI and what value it brings. So in these turbulent times, uncovering that kind of growth can be increasingly difficult, especially for tech organizations whose products or solutions can often be deemed as either non-essential or the dreaded nice to haves. So what do you think the secret is to unlocking durable growth in these turbulent times that we find ourselves in? And I say that for people listening all over the world too.
Yeah, and I mean, it's crazy, isn't it? It's turbulent, it's so different. That's the other thing that, we're all grappling with, is how different the experience, the contexts are in every single geography. Because we still, of course, have the pandemic in the background as well. So it's not, and on top of that, the geopolitical, the war, the economic, the recession. What's key, though, for me when I think about durable growth and I think about my organisation, is how can we create the ability to sense where those growth opportunities are going to come from? Because where they are today won't be where they're necessarily going to be tomorrow. And that's the other thing that we're seeing. We're seeing this constant change of opportunity. And as you say, now it's all about cost. A couple of years ago, it wasn't about cost. It was about get me up remote working, secure my enterprise. Now that security piece still continues, but you need to do that in a way that's cost optimized. Get me to the cloud, fuel my new business model, help me to, fuel my new business model. But again, now in a cost optimized way. So how do we, first, you've got to be able to sense where these growth opportunities are going to come from, because the pace of change means they're going to change constantly. For us, that means getting very, very close to our clients, really listening and learning from our clients. It also means getting very, very close to our parents. We've got Accenture and Microsoft, but then we've also got an ecosystem of partners that we work with and we can learn from. Sitecore, from a digital marketing perspective, might be one, for example. So, really tapping into our ecosystem of partners, the analysts and the relationship we create with analysts, our employees walking the corridors in our clients' organizations. How do we pull that together so we can learn where the growth opportunity is going to come from? The next piece is about agility, organizational agility. We've got to be able to respond quickly. We've got to be able to fail fast. We've got to be able to recognize when actually what we hope for in terms of the outcome, maybe in terms of taking a new proposition to market, isn't actually being realized. So how do we learn from that very quickly and pivot? How do we let go? How do we build that sense of experimentation into the organization? So that sense of agility is important. Third thing is about stamina, because if you're constantly changing, responding to change, then you need to build stamina into your workforce. And that ties back to the employee experience piece and that focus on well-being, which again needs to run through. And durable growth, the final piece for me, is about sustainability. It's about sustainable growth from a social and an environmental perspective, because that's the other consideration now as business leaders, right? People want to join organizations that have got their eye to sustainable growth. And so, unlocking durable growth for me, Neil, has a number of different dimensions across the ability to sense and respond, the ability to be agile, have stamina in the organization, but above all, be sustainable.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And another thing I would throw in there is around the tech skill shortage that I mentioned a few moments ago. There's a lot of talk around it, but I would say there's a fantastic opportunity to retrain internal staff and help people pivot into a career in tech, and also bringing new people into the organization from a variety of backgrounds and giving them a chance to shine too. And it's so important now. And on that side of things, can you tell me more about how the conversations around things like inclusion and diversity can be difficult, but are actually vital to a healthy and empowered workforce, especially in the tech industry, because it's an industry that has been caught behind for so long, and there's been a bit of a nasty reputation around that. But things are changing, aren't they?
They are changing. We're making progress. We're not making progress fast enough.
Yeah.
We're challenged now in terms of tech talent, so we do have to think differently. And there have been some challenging times and some challenging conversations, but this is an area that I'm incredibly passionate about. I am very different myself, right? I'm a Black female CEO in technology. I have grown up my career in technology, right, where I've been very used to being the only one. I started, I lived in a little small village outside of Basingstoke, one of a few Black girls in the village, one of a few Black girls in my school. So I'm incredibly passionate about having diverse voices heard. It is very much a part of me. And so, from my seat, if you like, in the organisation, have created and opened up a broader conversation within Avanade, which I think is part of the remit of all leaders, actually, is to challenge their organisations to become more diverse. But also at the same time, as you say, to really think about inclusion. And in Avanade, we switch them, right? It's about inclusion, because we need to focus on keeping and making sure everybody feels they can belong. If we can create that environment, people will thrive. They'll become that will unlock innovation. And because you only get to true innovation if you unlock those diverse voices. And that's why it is so, so, so important to challenge that status quo in the organisation. And so, as you say, we're making progress. It's incredible when you think, I think it was the National Bureau of Statistics in the Bureau of Labor Statistics in the US talked about the fact that from a gender perspective, you have more women in the workforce now than you do with men. It's just over 50%. But then when you look at STEM, it's still only around 30% are in STEM careers, and I think only 20% in computer science. So, as you say, there has been progress, but when you look at the numbers, they're very stark. And again, in the UK, we're only a little bit ahead of that STEM number in terms of 30%. So progress has been made, definitely been made in my time, in my career, but we've still got a very long way to go. And I think it's really important as business leaders that we challenge ourselves to make sure around our tables we've got more diverse talent. And then within our organisation, we challenge our leaders -1, our organisations.
So it's such an important conversation to have. I'm curious, if you look back at your career, some of the challenges, some of the obstacles that may or may not have been put in your way at that moment in time, are they still there? Are things like that improving throughout the corporate workforce as well?
I do think they're improving. I think there is more than, because there is a greater awareness around diversity and inclusion. I think there are more of the opportunities that I had in my career. So, for example, mentorship. There is more deliberate and intentional mentorship programs than when I started my career or earlier on in my career. And many organizations have those now. And many organizations also understand the difference between mentorship and sponsorship. Sponsorship is about, having someone at the table that's banging the table on your behalf when you're not there. They're going to help to open doors for you. Now, you've got to be able to walk through those, and that's where your mentorship comes from. That sort of it allows you to, gives you the confidence. But when I think about the opportunities from mentorship and sponsorship, the open-mindedness in organizations around leaders becoming mentors, taking on and learning from their diverse talent to be able to do more, definitely more of that opportunity around, Neil, than before. Absolutely.
And you mentioned working with athletes a few moments ago, and I spoke to CompTIA yesterday about their training initiatives, and they were working with male and female footballers that didn't quite make the grade, or their career was cut short. and retraining them into cybersecurity and bringing them in.
Right.
I'm curious, what is it about the mindset of an athlete that fits so seamlessly into technology, would you say?
One of the pieces for me is that, well, there's the ambition, and the not propensity, but that willingness to learn and continually improve that you get from athletes. Right? They're continually pushing themselves. They're continually open-minded. They're continually open to feedback, to learning, to improving, and to taking on new skills. And that is perfect when it comes to a fast-paced technology environment, right?
And as someone that's the go-to person, not only for your customers, but for your workforce as well, I've got to ask, is there anything that keeps you up at night? And how do you keep your curiosity alive and open-mindedness too, to be able to create new solutions and drive the company forward? Is there anything that you actively do to keep that alive in you?
I'm naturally curious anyway. I always have been. I do remember one of my mentors saying to me years ago, he said, whatever you do, Pam, don't stop asking the questions. Right? Don't. He said, because whenever you ask a question, it's often coming from a different perspective than the rest of us. And all of us sort of sit back and say, well, why didn't we think of that? Why didn't we ask that question? And so I do. I'm constantly reflecting, constantly looking to learn, to understand, to refine, if you like, and to move forward. So that's just naturally who I am. I do have that high level of curiosity. The one thing that keeps me awake at night is my 60,000 professionals in Avanade. Yeah. We are a services company. And so for me, the company is nothing, right? Without our employee base, without a thriving employee base. And so I'm very focused every day thinking about, how do we create an environment at Avanade that enables our people to thrive, that gives them the access to tools or that will help and enhance their well-being, that will help them both personally and professionally at a time when they need it, as you say, because of the turbulence that we're all experiencing and how that impacts us both personally and professionally. Let's not forget, it's not just professionally at all. And so employees for me are always top of mind. One of the ways in which we do help and have helped our employees over the last couple of years in particular, as we've looked to move our culture forward, is we've really focused on creating a growth mindset and, using the principles of Carol Dweck's growth mindset book and also working with the Neuro Leadership Institute to help to bring those growth mindset principles into Avanade to help to transform our culture. That means that, we're continually looking to learn, we're continually looking for feedback, we're continuing looking to experiment, and those sorts of principles also help, right? They also help to keep you open-minded, to keep you curious, and to keep you learning. And so that's, and I obviously, again, as the leader, I need to embody those principles. I need to embody those behaviors. I need to lead from the front. And, that's what I've been doing now. So Absolutely. Part of it's naturally me, and part of it's, what I'm looking to create as a culture and leading that culture forward from an Avanade perspective.
And your passion for everything that you do really shines through in just talking to you today. And on this tech podcast, I always say that technology works best when it brings people together. And you appeared on my radar from your mission to advance the world through the power of people and Microsoft. Can you expand on that statement? It's incredibly powerful, isn't it?
Yeah, I love that statement. And that's our vision statement, our new vision statement, and which we created over a year ago now. And we wanted to keep that really simple. I think organizations can create vision statements that are way too wordy and too long, but we wanted to create something that was really simple and that would resonate in 26 countries. Right. So there were two of the drivers: simplicity, and it had to resonate and be relevant. And it had to speak to who we are and what we're about. Right. And, it's got people at the core of it, just like our purpose in terms of human impact. So human impact, people, bringing those two things together. It has that in its core. It has Microsoft as well, because again, we are, a Microsoft services organization. That's what differentiates us. and continues to differentiate us in this world. And so those things were really important around that. And then, as I say, bringing that together, bringing those two pieces together and allowing our employees to be motivated by those statements. And one of the things I cannot believe, and I still, and it delights me, yes, it's very positive impact, is the way in which that purpose and that vision statement have really galvanized our organization and our people, how they've got behind that common goal, how they use the power of that statement and take that forward into how they work with their clients, with their communities, and with each other. So totally agree with you. It's a wonderful statement. It's been galvanizing for our organization, and I really truly believe it's been one of the key levers in driving our culture forward.
Is there anything that you can share about the road ahead and what you're going to be concentrating on?
Well, it ties back to one of the statements that you made earlier in our conversation about the turbulent times and all the continual change that organizations are grappling with, and how do they continue to invest in technology in a cost-effective way. And that's where we're really focused. It's like, how do we help our clients to really quickly pivot, to take advantage of the technology opportunity, what technology can offer them, but in a cost-effective way, because that is what's most important right now. But helping them to transform their, capture more clients or retain their clients through stronger customer experience. Their employees, as you say, be able to capture the employment opportunity, the workforce opportunity, transform employee experience, while all the way through making operations more efficient. And so, that's really where we're focused. We're really focused on our clients and really helping our clients to pivot and get ready for whatever's around the corner in terms of the future.
Well, we started the podcast today talking about your origin story, what put you on this path. And as we come full circle, I'm going to ask you to leave us with one more thing, and that is either a book that has inspired you or a favourite song. We can add the book to an Amazon wish list or the song to a Spotify playlist. All I ask is, what are you going to leave us with today and why?
Gosh, I wish I could do both.
I will let you do both if you wish.
In fact, I'm going to break the rules. Yeah. I am going to do both. So my song is Nina Simone, Feeling Good.
Wow.
When I became UK GM for Avanade, so UK General Manager, I still remember to this day my first all-employee event. I had to walk onto the stage. I was terrified, as one would be. And I used the Muse version of that song to, as my walk-on music. And for me, that song signaled the change in the organization, new general manager, there's going to be change. But it also signaled the change that was going to be required in me. It signaled the fact that I was starting a new chapter of my career, and I would need to be able to operate differently. My context was changing. I had new responsibilities and a new role to play. And so that is one of my, if you like, my strength-giving songs, right? When I hear that song, I feel inspired, I feel powerful, I'm ready for whatever's ahead. My book, as you say, just finished the holiday, 2 weeks off, time to read, if possible, if the family and friends would allow. I actually took to Audible because I live really close to one of the great UK parks. So I took to Audible and I listened to No Rules Rules, which is the Netflix story around culture of reinvention. Incredible for anybody who hasn't read or listened to that. It's a fascinating story, thought-provoking about how you empower your employees, how you give your employees more freedom and responsibility, but in a way that allows them to innovate and for you to transform your culture and for your employees to thrive. Absolutely fascinating. Highly recommend it.
Wow, 2 killer choices there. I will be adding both of those to our list. And before I let you go, for anyone listening, just wanting to find out more information, we've covered a lot in a short amount of time today. Where can they find you online and contact your team if anyone listening has any questions?
We have a fantastic website, avanade.com. So you can find us there. You can find us on LinkedIn. You can follow our company page on LinkedIn. We're also on Twitter with the Avanade Twitter handle. We're also on Instagram at Avanade Inc. and at Avanade on Facebook. So on all of the channels you would expect now.
Excellent. Well, I think anyone scrolling down their news feeds will see so many horrible headlines about technology replacing humans. And I think we've restored the balance in the universe today. I loved hearing about Avanade's purpose of making a genuine human impact by leveraging technology, and how you're committed to the vision now of advancing the world through the power of people and Microsoft. I think that is such an important message. And also everything we've talked about, diversity, equity, inclusion. And not only that, you even had time to leave us with a great book and a song. So thank you for sharing all that and your origin story today.
Thank you.
We covered so much in a short amount of time there about the employee experience and why employees are clear about what they want. They want to work for an organisation which is purpose-driven and provides real change in society. And employers have got to adapt to this requirement, especially in the tech sector. And equally, durable growth is essential, as is inclusion and diversity. So there are so many big changes happening in the workplace right now. But at the heart of it all, it was Pamela's passion to make a genuine human impact. So again, cannot thank Pamela enough for coming on here. Absolutely inspirational lady. And I'd love to get more stories like this on the podcast. I think it's so important to talk about this stuff and not just the tech. Because every guest that I've spoke to in over 2,200 interviews, it's never just about the tech. It's the combination of tech and people. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. So as always, email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com. You get me on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, etc. at Neil C. Hughes. We'll keep this important conversation going. And I invite you to share your thoughts, your questions, your opinions. And I also cordially invite you to join me again tomorrow, where we'll tackle a completely different subject. But that's it for today, so thanks for listening as always, and until next time, don't be a stranger.